So how are we doing? So some of the things that I am going to say probably are going to push some people's buttons. Some people might get really angry. Okay, thank you. I hope so. So first thing I want to tell you is that how I felt, just personally, so you know how I felt. And I'll borrow this from Courtney because I went through the same thing, is the 5 stages of grief. And the thing I'm going to tell you is to remember, not everybody in this room went through the 5 stages of grief. And we have to be honoring that. We can't let them think that they don't belong here because they didn't vote like the rest of us. They are still the same people they were on Monday. And unless you ask them why they cast their ballot the way they did, you can make up all kinds of stories. But they're just as compassionate as you are. They believe in just as much love as you do. They're not bigots. They're not racist, because if they were, they wouldn't be comfortable sitting in this room. So that's the first uncomfortable thing I wanted to say. Is we have to own when we come in here and we start going on about, oh, I was so sad, and and that's okay. I get it. I felt the same way. We have to give space for those people who don't feel that way. And their friends and their families and they're members of this community. And we need to find out not why, like in a way that why is wrong, because they have valid reasons, just like you had valid reasons. And so we need to be compassionate. And the first reading, all the kids are in the, yeah, they are. We're all adults here. I'm going to read something by Ken Wilber from One Taste. And it's about compassion, because that's where we need to go. All of us, every single one of us is compassion. Because here's the deal. On Wednesday morning when you woke up, America did not change. There are still people sleeping in the streets in this country because they're homeless and they're hungry. We have one that camps out right here. Don't touch her stuff, she doesn't like it. But she, in the winter, this is where she comes because she feels safe here and she feels dry here. 1 in 100 Americans is in prison, and most of them are people of color. We've got kids carrying guns to school. The thing that happened on Wednesday morning that breaks my heart, and yet I will use Ernest Holmes, is we gave a voice to people that either we believed weren't there, or our life was so comfortable we thought we'll just ignore that. And now they've got a voice. Now they're telling us how they feel. And Ernest Holmes would say, you can't heal it unless you reveal it. And so it's revealed now, and all of us in this room, regardless of how we cast our ballot, all of us here, I believe, are called here to heal. There is a baby here, so I'm going to skip over. You sure? All right. Okay. Real compassion kicks butt and takes names. And it is not pleasant on certain days. If you are not ready for this fire, then find, and this is not me, in case you haven't figured this out, find a new age sweetness and life, soft-speaking, perpetually smiling teacher. And learn to relabel your ego with spiritual-sounding terms. To me, that's a spiritual bypass. But stay away from those who practice real compassion, because they will fry your bottom, my friend. What most people mean by compassion is, please be nice to my ego. Well, your ego is your own worst enemy, and anybody being nice to it is not being compassionate to you. And so what do we do as a community? For me, it's a call. And obviously, it was a call before Tuesday because I went to the Engaged Spirituality Conference and I talked to you about that. It was a call probably when I was in high school that made me take pause on how we treat people. And yet, I didn't do anything with that then. I went to work full time, and what I was told when I went to work for a large corporation is, if you demonstrate, you'll lose your job. And quite frankly, money was more important to me than any cause. And I've grown up, I've changed. And so there's a lot of things that we can do, and yet we need to do them with compassion. And compassion isn't saying to somebody, oh, it's all God. Yeah, okay, it's all God. I get that. I get that. And yet to say to somebody, oh, it's all God, when they're bleeding in front of you is not very compassionate. We need to rise up and have a voice. One of the things that at the Engaged Spirituality Conference, one of the things they said is, why aren't these communities, talking about unity and Michael Beckwith's church and Science of Mind churches, why aren't they filled to overflowing? Because we're the people that don't want to talk to you about what we believe. We don't want to, what's that word? Plasticize. Thank you. I was going to say something different. Yeah, same. We don't want to be like those people that tell you, that you got to go to church every day or you're going to go to hell. Well, no, we don't tell people that. We don't believe it. However, what we do believe is in compassion, and if people want to feel compassionate and safe, this is one of the communities that they can come to. And if we don't tell them, who's going to? Who is going to tell people, come to Genesis? You'll feel at home. And so I started to look for things that I could do, because it's really frustrating when you look at what's going on in the world and think, oh, that's way too big. I can't do anything. I'm just going to stay in my house and lock my doors and climb under my covers, build a fire, and I'll be okay. And the world won't. And so the thing that we have to do as a community is decide, what can I do today? What can I do today? And when I do that, and it's kind and it helps somebody, am I willing to do it again tomorrow? And it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be a big thing. And I had a friend on Facebook who posted, I'm white privilege, what can I do? Because here's the thing, if you're white, own it. We're white privilege. We don't know what it's like to be a person of color. Any color. We don't. And so let's own that first of all. I'm okay with that. It's nothing that I can change. I can't change not being white privilege. It's part of what happens when you're born white in a country where most of us are white. So that's just part of who we are. I'm okay with that. And what do I do with it? How do I react? And so when she posted that, people were giving her all of the normal baby pablum stuff. Oh, do this. And, oh, that's so bold of you to state that. And then one woman said, here's a list of things you can actually do. And so if you're interested in actually doing things, there's copies of these on the table out in the lobby. And it says at the top, feeling helpless, what can you do? Here's a list. Do one. If it's donate money, donate money. If it's buying a homeless person a burger, buy a homeless person a burger. Whatever it is, do something. We have been complacent way too long. I'm sorry. I guess I'm moving through more anger. And it's not to make anybody wrong, because I think that what has happened in this country is despicable on how we treat other people, how we treat our veterans. Somebody posted on Facebook, our veterans should get free health care. They should, for the rest of their life. Absolutely, they should. And why don't they? I don't know. Maybe we should start asking. Instead of being silent, maybe we should start asking. And Facebook is a great tool. I am going to set out a challenge because I also do believe God is in everything. And there's that energy of dislike or uncomfortableness that we promote and feed in social media. And what if we took the whole month of December in honor of a Jewish mystic? By the way, he was not Christian, just so we're all clear. He was a heretic in his time. Absolutely, a rebel rouser. He demanded justice. He wanted to be heard. First of all, let's reclaim him as a voice of love and acceptance and inclusivity, because that's who he was. If somebody touched the garment of his robe, he didn't turn around and go, "How much money do you make?" "Oh, then let go of my robe." He had kindness in his eyes. He saw people for who they were. He was our example, not our exception. That's what we teach here. He's our example, and yet there are so many of us like, "Oh, no, we're not going to talk about Jesus. That will make people uncomfortable." Okay, so we're ready to be uncomfortable. Or at least I am. And so we need to find that place in our heart that we can be that, at the Engaged Spirituality, they called it spiritual first responders. And so in December, what if we decided we were going to post absolutely nothing negative? So what I want you to do is post lots of things about the Seahawks, because then I called that out. I called that. You don't have to do that. I just want to see if you cannot respond. If you don't know Courtney, she's not a huge Seahawks fan. Yeah, But anyway, can we be who we proclaim to say we are in all aspects of our life? And that includes social media. Because what I notice is people will say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be kinder on social media." And, I had a friend in Santa Fe, after every service, she'd come up to me, "Oh, I loved what you said, Gayle, and you're absolutely right. I'm going to be more kind." And within 24 hours, because we were really good friends, and her posts would come up first in my feed, and I'd look at something and go, short-term memory loss. That's not really kind. And so, it's like my mother used to always say, "Think about it before you speak." And when we had just email, it was you write an email and then you read it. You don't push send. You write it, you read it. You go to bed. You wake up in the morning, you read it again. And you take out all the inflammatory stuff. You can still say what you need to say and say it with kindness. Then you push send. What if we did that on social media? What if the spiritual first responders for the month of December, 31 days, said nothing negative about anybody? Anybody. You have to think then before you respond. I have, and Bernie knows this, and I'm sure Susan knows this, I had that bubble of being the minister. Bernie had the bubble of being in ministerial school. Susan knows because of Charles. I didn't say anything during the election. Because as a minister, you're not supposed to go there. And what I'm telling you right now is I'm not going there because nobody's wrong. The voting's over. Let's get back to humanity. Let's get back to really loving each other without embarrassment. Does it really matter? Is it going to change your life if somebody chooses to love a woman and they happen to be a woman, or they love a man and they happen to be a man? Is that really going to affect you? Is it? Because it doesn't affect me. More love in the world. More love in the world. And if you were heterosexual, I am. Good for me. More love in the world. You know, I think Mark Anthony Lord, and I'm not going to remember exactly what he said, but it was funny. He said, you heterosexuals, I don't get you. And I thought, that was brilliant. It was brilliant. Because how many people were, oh yeah, you're gay, I don't understand that. And he literally looked at us and said, oh, you're heterosexual, I don't get that. You know, we have to start listening to what we say to people. Because it may be funny now, and yet it's unkind. Not that he would say that, but somebody would think, oh, I don't get that. Well, you don't have to. Love's love. Love is love. And so I beg you, or empower you, to give up our, or my, spiritual superiority. Oh, we're New Thought. We love everybody. Unless you voted for Donald Trump, and then we're not so sure about that anymore. I know, but it's true. And so if we're New Thought and we love everybody, that means everybody. Everybody. And sometimes that's not pretty and it's not comfortable. And when it's not, have a conversation with the person. You know, I got a call from somebody and they said something and I was like, I don't understand that statement at all. And so I called the person back and I said, please explain to me what this means. Why, what does that mean to you? And they did. And so I understood where they were coming from. Doesn't mean I had to agree with them, but I understood and I loved them. And I love their opinions. Because God didn't make us all one color. God didn't make us all one sex. God didn't make us all whatever. Look around you. This is a buffet. And it's yummy. And it's juicy. And when you get to more people you get to know, then the more you're going to realize when you start to categorize people, what you're giving up in your life. You're giving up their intelligence, their joy, their gifts that they've come here to the world to give to us because they don't look like you. So for me, after riding the wave of how I felt, and I actually borrowed this from a web page called Hip Sobriety. The guy blogs and he was brilliant. And what he said was that had the election turned out differently, there are many of us that would have gone back to our complacent lives. And we would have thought, yeah, the world's not perfect, but it works. And now the world's in our face. And each one of us, every single person here, regardless of Tuesday, is called to that place of compassion. That place of being the change that we want to see in the world. Because we can't talk about it anymore. If God is in everything, guess what God just did? There's a big bullhorn that's been blown saying, wake up, people. This was your spiritual wake-up call. And I, for one, heard it loud and clear. And I really hope, without scolding you or making you wrong, because that's not my intention. It's more about me when I get up here and talk, what I'm working through. But I hope each of you can find in that place, what's the one thing I can do today? What's the one life I can change today? Put a safety pin on. Does everybody know what they are? It started with, I don't know how to pronounce it, Brexit. Is that how you say it? Brexit? Brexit. Where people in England started to attack Muslims. And a woman from the United States that was living in England decided the one thing she could do was to start to wear a safety pin. And what that safety pin says is, I am here and I am safe. So if somebody feels uncomfortable, if they feel like they're going to be verbally attacked, they could come and stand by me. The other thing that social media gave us was, if you see something, because I wondered, what do I do? You know, do I get in some person's face because they're getting in somebody else's, a person's face? And it was like, go stand with them and start to talk to them. Because that will put you between them and the abuser. And it will also allow other people to probably say something, or to just focus on the person that's being abused. Because I sometimes want to be a mama bear. I want to get in there and say, who do you think you are? And how? That's not the energy we're looking for. That doesn't sound like love. It might feel right in the moment. It doesn't feel like love. And so to remember, there are things you can do. Are we going to fix the world tomorrow? No. Are we going to fix the United States tomorrow? No. But remember, the United States didn't change. All that changed was every single one of us in this room woke up. And now, everybody gets to deal with us. I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid of all the love that this community can pour out into the world. That's the call. Be the love. Answer that call. So let's pray. And so knowing that there is a magnificence that is God right here, right now, always has been, always will be. It never goes anywhere. And as we know and observe, it never interferes. It says yes. And I know that it fills me up with love and compassion and joy at that deep, deep soul level that knows that it knows exactly where it came from and why it's here. The soul is calling. And so as I know this is true for me, I know it is true for all of you. Everyone everywhere filled with that compassion, that joy, that love, that calling to humanity. And so knowing this, I speak my word knowing that in this very moment, right here, right now, spiritual responders are lighting up all over the place. They are finding ways in their compassion to be very vocal about who they are and why they're here. And I know that as we shift and we become aware and awake, the energy shifts and people feel heard and seen and loved, and sometimes for the very first time in their life. And so knowing God moves in and through and as each person, I know that God moves right here and right now, as Ken Gordon said, who is the founder, or who is our spiritual leader. Right here and right now, I know that that divinity, that love, that compassion is moving through President-elect Donald Trump. And I will say that over and over and over again until he feels it and he knows it. For love is love. God is God. Principle is principle. Come from there. As I say, thank you, God, for this knowing, this belief, this faith that all is well and as it should be. Turning these words over into the law, knowing that it is always as it should be, even now. I just say thank you, God. Thank you for the winds. I will put up my sails, and with grace I go forward. And so it is. Namaste.